and then you'll die.
Check it out.
It's
kind of weird.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode, I don't even know, 25, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had to go do back counting so I can get that right.
Right? That's funny.
But I am Philip, the Trail Mix. Here
I am
with-
Steven. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Here with.
I'm Steven, the navigator.
So, yeah, if you caught anything that we talked to last week, we started talking about mountains in the Bible. And I'm really stoked to go through this because there's so many, like, crucial things that happened on mountains in the Bible.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Like all the just like key points in the Bible happen on a mountain. Yep. So I still got that thing in my eyeball. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We had a little pre-show meltdown. I still got stuck in my eye.
Yeah, you should have seen it. It was just mass pandemonium on Steven's side. It was just things were
crazy.
falling and
Oh man. Fifth dimension over here. So
yeah.
hopefully everything stays put for like the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, right.
Nobody move! So we got to start tonight with a couple shout outs. Start doing shout outs, I guess, because
Yes.
so got a shout out to a buddy of mine, Peter Zip. And so if you don't know, Peter Zip is a good friend of mine. He's also our pastor. So sometimes it's weird to have a lot of pastor friends, which I happen to have. So, but it is what it is. So he's supposed to be on sabbatical, and he's been kind of blowing my phone up. So I blew his up a little bit. And he wanted to connect, and I'm like, I've been trying to connect, kind of connect with him. But so anyways, long story short, I was like, hey, you're supposed to be on sabbatical. I don't even know if we're supposed to be talking to each other. So shout out to you. He's like, we'll get together soon. I was like, okay. But yeah, so anyways, and then shout out to a guy this morning. So it's funny how things can work out. Backstory here for everybody, because you don't get to hear what we talk about before we go live or pre-record or anything. Last night I handed out a Way Outside flyer. I hate using the word flyer. I'm going to use pamphlet, if that works. There's got to be a better word. Even pamphlet sounds creepy.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that makes you sound like one of them guys that stand in an airport wearing a tunic. Yeah.
A tunic. Imagine me in a tunic. Like, what are you looking at? Anyways, handing out whatever you want. Use whatever term you want to. And got a text back from him. Fortunately, it was someone I knew. And he's like, there's a typo. And he sends me a picture. And it's the phone number to the Way Outside. It's missing one digit. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So anyways, I was kind of like just freaking out last night. And wasn't in a super good mood. Got up this morning to go to work on Labor Day. Decided I was only going to do half a day. Told my boys I'd come home and have lunch with them and my daughter. And anyways, I didn't really want to go to work to begin with. I was trying to keep the ball moving at work. And I was like, going over to get fuel and some breakfast at the Frenchies in Frenchtown, Montana. Yeah, I'm wearing my usual Way Outside hoodie with our name and our podcast on the back. And there's this dude behind me. He's like, hey. He goes, I don't remember exactly what I said, but he's like, said something to the effect of, are you guys on he's like, your podcast, is that you guys on Spotify? And I was like, turning on, I look, and I'm like, yeah, we're on Spotify. And I'm like half awake, right? And he's like, and I couldn't even think of what the name of the podcast was. I'm like, I'm a total idiot, right? And I was like, and I'm trying to look, and I'm like, it's on my back of my shirt. I'm not gonna see it, right? So I'm like, oh, and then he's like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube. I'm like, we're on Facebook. We're on Facebook. Look us up on Facebook. That's a great place to start. So like before I like left the store, the guy's ringing me up. Like he's like, I got you, man. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I thought that was fantastic. So I did a little shout out to him this morning. I was like, hey, good morning, Frenchtown, Montana. I think his first name. I think we probably get away with using his first name. I don't know. I'm gonna use his last name. His first name is Clayton. And so shout out to you, Clayton. Thanks for checking us out and hooking up with us. Hopefully you're watching this or you get to see this. And so anyways, you never know how God's going to work or what's he going to do. Someone's just going to read your shirt. And I'm glad we have our shirts with our stuff printed on it because, I mean, look, it worked like it was supposed to. So,
right. Yeah.
And I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do anything this morning, but I got up. Clayton, I got up for you, buddy.
That's right.
So there you go.
Didn't know it at the time, but that's why he got up.
Yep. So I got up for Clayton. There it is.
That's fantastic. That's a great story.
So hopefully he's pumped.
Yeah.
And Clayton, if you want a sweatshirt, let me know. I'll hook you up.
Right. That goes for anybody else that's watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your sound's a little crazy. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I'll check my connection. Anyways, yeah. So back to crucial moments in time in the Bible on mountaintops. There's a book title for you.
Oh, holy cats. Yeah, so we kind of decided on Noah and the flood last week because we got to talking about that on the end of towards the end of the show, and we could have talked for another 2 hours just.
Yeah, totally. So,
but yeah, it's let's see, that was I don't even remember now.
well, we started with like a list of mountains in the Bible. Like, just Google it real quick. And the first one that came up was Mount. So, I'm gonna say Mount Ararat. It's actually the mountains of Ararat. So, I think we totally take these Bible stories, and I don't like to use the word stories, but they're stories.
Right.
They're legitimate stories. They're not like fairy tales. And I think over time they get watered down and we take them for granted.
Mm-hmm. Especially this one.
Definitely this one. You want to talk about, which is not a pun or a play on anything because we're saying watered down and it's about the flood. So, you think there were ducks on that boat? Noah's like, hey, don't shoot the ducks.
Yeah. Right.
Like, come on, man. So, what do you got, Phil? Lay it on us.
So, I mean, I think we need to start with like a little bit of context here because when you hear us tell you to read the Bible, we want you to read the Bible, okay? But when you read the Bible, don't. I'm getting a little off track here, but just bear with me.
Yeah.
Don't do this. I'm going to read that and try to apply it to my life. My life, not my wife. My life. Because when you do that, you come up with things like this. She weeps bitterly in the night with tears on her cheeks among all her lovers. She has none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. Just for reference, that's Lamentations 1:2. So don't Don't do that. Don't just
Yeah.
fan your Bible open and point to something and try to apply that. No, don't do that.
Especially that.
Yes, especially that one.
You be sleeping on the couch. That's a fact.
So
That's funny you came with that one. Sorry.
I know, right? That was a great, like,
Yeah.
whatever it's
That's
called, example. So, with that said, context is everything when you're reading the Bible.
Mm.
So, don't just read, and I know we've talked about this before, don't just read that verse or even that section. Read the section before it, the section after it, read about the author, who wrote it, what was going on when he wrote it, all that kind of stuff. So, with that said, Noah and the flood, God is looking down on the earth and he is just not pleased with what's going on. So the whole story, is like Genesis 6, somewhere in that area, 6 to, I don't know, 7 or 8, something like that. So Genesis 6:5 says, "The Lord saw that wickedness of the man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually."
That sounds like today.
It does. It does. There's some definitely some carryovers there for sure. And then he goes on to tell Noah that he's gonna destroy them and the earth, and so he tells them to build an ark. And so it gives the dimensions of the ark in here. It's 300 cubits. The length is 300 cubits. Its breadth or width is 50 cubits, and its height is 30 cubits.
How big is a cubit?
I was doing that just before we got on here. I was looking all of that up, and so from what I have seen, the general consensus is one cubit is approximately 18 inches, or the measurement from your fingers to your elbow, approximately.
Sure.
So by that math, the
18
length
inches.
of it. The length of the ark was 450 feet. The width was 75 feet. And the height was 45 feet plus 18 inches for the roof, because that was clarified in there too, that the roof was to be 1 cubit above that.
Yeah, you gotta have a vent.
Right, yes. Yeah, especially all them animals. Oh boy.
Woo! And there's only one window on that place.
You're right, yeah. And they all just poke their heads up out the top of the window.
They're like, hello,
yeah.
a little fresh air.
Okay, so this is where the story gets, I don't know if it's necessarily watered down, but it's changed here.
I would go with watered down.
Because of, this is a really popular Sunday school child's kind of, story. And so starting in 7, Genesis 7:1. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." This is the part that gets changed, and I don't understand why it gets changed. "Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate." It's like we skipped the clean animals, and only we're taking the unclean animals, according, by the Sunday school version of the story, which I find very interesting, that it was the clean animals that were skipped. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Did you notice that number? There's 7 of them also.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Like they had all the clean animals, they could eat those animals.
Right.
So they had it odd man out.
Yes.
You think the animals knew that? Like, man, I'm number 7. I'm screwed.
I don't know.
Are they in the back and then they're pen drawing straws? Like, all right, Jimmy.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. Just being ridiculous. Who's got the short straw? Because you're out. You're breakfast.
Which they would need. I mean, the flood continued for
Yeah.
40 days and 40 nights.
Yep.
And we kind of touched on this a little bit, you know, where the water had come from
Oh, yeah.
last week. You know, and I did not find the picture of that, but
Chapter 8, verse 17 is where it starts, where all the water came from. It says, now the flood was on the earth 40 days. Wait. Did I get that right?
7,
7. My bad.
17. Yeah, there you go.
Did I say 17? There it is. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark was moved about on the surface of the water. And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upwards, and the mountains were covered. So you got like the tallest mountain, whatever that was at the time, was 15 cubits above that. So 15 times 18, whatever that is.
Well, 30 is 45 feet, so 15 cubits would be half of that.
So
20,
22 and a half feet.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of water. Where does it say where the waters came? I read it earlier today, where the water actually came from. I should have wrote it down.
Okay, so it's just before that.
Yeah.
7-Eleven.
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 Makes me want to go get a slushie.
So yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it gives like a specific date too.
Yeah, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of that month, all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of the heavens were open, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So it rained from above, the waters came up from below the ground, and there you go.
Yes, and I wish I could have
Can you imagine seeing that?
looked a little more. Yeah, I know, right? Like I picture the biggest, heaviest downpour that I've ever seen in my life, and then you picture that not just coming down but coming up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly. So just hear me out. Maybe I'm completely out of my tree, and if I am, tell me so. So if you read this, it says the fountains of the great deep were broken up. So that kind of makes me wonder. I mean, if you ever looked at a globe,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of looks like everything kind of fits together. was it one? I know it's gonna sound crazy and it's gonna make people's head hurt. But you think it was all like one piece of land, and then it said, everything broke up and the water came up around everything? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I could totally picture that.
So humanly, I mean, like, was like, do you think like everything was kind of flat? Pretty much. I mean, not the earth, not flat, but the big chunk of land was flat. Everybody get back in their seats, all right?
Right. Oh man.
And then, so the fountains came up, like broke up all the land, pushed it all around, and then the water's covered, sea level, boop, up, water came down, boop, buried everything. So in the course of all this jamming around the land, made all the, made the mountains, right? So I'm thinking like, this is gonna sound crazy, but I might be onto something here. I don't know. So like all the land busted up, pushed everything around. Like the waters come up, mountains come up because the land's got to go somewhere, right?
Right.
So the mountains come up, and then the land's done moving, like within this a lot of time, and then you got the water coming on top of that. So it's like 22 feet above, to say Mount Everest. Now it's 5 miles high. So you 5 miles and 22 feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of flipping water.
Yes.
So, I mean, it says Mount Everest is a little over 16,000 feet. Or not Everest. The quote unquote Mount Ararat itself, which we'll get into in a few minutes, is 16 and some change. Pardon me. So, I mean, what do you think? And then in the course of all this, it says, he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird on the air. They were destroyed from earth. So that kind of, there's something else going to make people crazy, is the dinosaurs,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the only way to get a fossil is for instantaneous to be covered with something,
Right.
dirt, mud, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So I mean, we just read this one chapter, it's chapter 7 in Genesis. There is a ton of stuff going on that I don't think people realize are going on.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong or if I'm too far down the rabbit hole, let me know. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're too far down the rabbit hole at all, because I mean, it a lot of that kind of stuff is just kind of left to speculation. You know what I mean? It's
True.
But that it totally makes sense to me. I picture if you were to playing in the sand at the beach, and you take your hands and you put your hands in it and you slide it to the side. If you're close enough to the water, it allows the water to come up. And then what happens to sand when you're pushing it to the side? It builds up, right?
Right.
So that's kind of that's kind of the picture that I have when I, talking about how God opened up the fountains of the deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally makes sense that, because I mean, you move stuff that dramatically, and you're going to get, the uplift in the mountains and whatever.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think you were saying last week about how it looked like there was an actual seam too on one of your globes that you had.
Yeah, there's a seam all the way around the planet.
Mm.
They were like, if you get a globe, like a good globe that has everything on it, it's like a baseball seam, it's, yeah. So, and there's my last, I'm not going to say my last crazy thought for this, but so now everybody's like, all right, where'd all the water go, you two? So you got the polar ice caps, you got north and south, right? You got Antarctica, and then you got the North Pole.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where all that water, everything settled down, it quit raining, and I think all that water just is frozen up there. So, humor me, if all that water melted, I don't think we'd have. Obviously, it says right in the Bible we won't have another flood like that. But
Right.
I bet if all that melted, yeah, you kiss Florida goodbye for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So shorelines would definitely change on continents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
it's just
I think that too, that there's a lot that the people don't take into consideration. When they ask that question, where did all that water go to then? Well, so I've seen pictures of these, I don't know what you want to call them, theories or whatever, that, you had the fountains of the deep. So there was all of this water that was essentially underground. And then there was the water that came down was actually water, like a water covering over the earth. It was over not the earth itself, but like up in the atmosphere.
right.
There was a layer of water all the way around the earth. And the theory for that was that, or one of the theories anyway, was that is why the lifespan was so long for the people that lived back then, was because of that layer of water around the atmosphere. It was filtering out all the radiation from the sun and all this other stuff that was coming in, right? And so if you take that as fact, then what would have the weather looked like on the surface of the earth at that time, Like,
Yeah, I bet it was like tropical almost all the time. I thought. And humid. Because I'm like, if I'm not mistaken, it never rained on Earth till this time. There was that mist that you're talking about that would be there. Probably came in at nighttime like it does now, like when it's dark. When the sun goes down, you go out in the morning, the grass is all wet. You're like, what the heck?
Right.
It didn't rain. So imagine that, tenfold with that water covering the earth, if you will. And then all of a sudden it just falls, and it's just like you don't have that anymore.
Right.
Now you're like, oh, it's gonna rain. You got clouds going on.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing I think that we have to take into consideration too is that this is all happening in the 6th and 7th chapter of Genesis.
Yeah.
And it's only a few short chapters before that God's saying, "Let there be light."
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
exactly.
Granted, the timeline is not, there's a lot more time in between there than that, but that's what we have to go on.
Yeah. I mean, you can pull some ages off some of these guys out here, and you come up with a pretty good timeline of which neither one of us did, but where was I going with this? I don't remember. But no, so yeah, like you said, not very long ago, like you said, he's actually making everything, but it just with Satan, things got so out of hand so fast. Yeah. God's like, all right, that's enough of that. Yep.
Had enough, but I'm not taking no more.
Yeah. Lay the smackdown. Because if you read the book of Genesis, this is kind of a big deal, the flood, because I'm like, he's literally, other than a handful of humans, I think it's like, so you got Noah and his wife, his 3 sons, so you got like 8 people. So you have, only God knows how many people were like literally on the planet up till then. But things are so bad and so out of hand, courtesy of Satan, who's like, and if you read, like, if you backtrack, starting with chapter 1, what the heck? Oh, I touched something. Oh, all right, keyboard. I touched the keyboard. Oh my goodness. There is some wild things going on that precede the flood.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get into it. You're free to read it. I mean, because it takes you right up to let's see. Bear with me here for a second. So chapter 3 is the temptation and fall of man. And then chapter 4, you get a brother killing a brother. And then he goes off. And then, you know, it's just, you got family division. You got, you got, I don't want to, you got, it actually says, you've got some wild things coming out of the supernatural world, hooking up with the natural world.
Yes.
And there are some absolutely wild things going on, and just some unholy and unrighteous things happening, and it's so bad. God's like, we're shutting it down. And we got this one guy. He's got his family. He's on the right track. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is almost mind-boggling, because like only these 8 people on the entire planet have got it right, and he's pulling the curtain on everybody else because it's so bad. Now you're probably thinking, you're like, well, God screwed up. I'm like, no, God did not screw up. He created man, and he's omni. He knows everything. He knows what's going on, past, present, future. So, yeah, God does not make mistakes. Satan makes mistakes. He thinks he's doing big things. He's not. He's just causing problems. He's just like, God's like, I'm shutting you down, buddy. I got these 8 people right here. They're good. Everybody else is out, because God has the power to do that. So,
right. Yeah, because I think that there's a big difference between, talking about, that whole idea that God was surprised or whatever by man being so messed up as it was. Now, there's a difference between God allowing something to happen and causing something to happen. You know what I mean? Because he's written this entire book. He knows beginning to end. He knows how it's all going to play out. So he knew that man was going to screw up as big as they did. And that's an interesting thing that we really don't have time to really go into now, but and maybe that's one of those things that we're just not supposed to understand, because there is a lot of that we're just not supposed to understand a lot of some of this stuff just on this side of eternity. The ways of God and all of that kind of stuff that,
oh, sure,
we can't even begin to fathom that kind of thing with our finite, sinful minds.
Yeah, we're basically designed and created to want to worship God. I mean,
Mhm.
so just like you said though, there's some of the stuff that's just like so absolutely mind-boggling. You're just like, I'm gonna find a verse to back that up, or verses. So keep talking, I'll find it.
So I found it. Let's see. What is this? Who is this article by? This is by, and I have no clue who this guy is. It's just something that I found here just a few seconds ago.
Right.
It's by John D. Morris, and talking about the great excuse me, the fountain of the deep, and he is saying in here that so the great deep, which was broken up, speaks of great subterranean reservoirs or chambers deep inside the earth, all of which spewed forth all of their contents at the same time. This breakup continued. Oh, that's interesting. I have to. He says this breakup continued all over the earth for 150 days. And he's got some references there too. And the next part though is what I think we were kind of getting at with the whole broken up thing. It says the reference to broken up merits attention, for it implies a wrenching of the Earth's crust, a great tectonic event. And that's pretty much what we're saying that is just
Oh, sure. Yeah.
absolute wrenching of the Earth's crust.
Yeah. I can see that because it kind of makes so like if say all the land is what it take the earth as it is now, just for funsies. Forget the fact that all the oceans, where the oceans are, they dip down. Pretend that's all above the water. The water is completely under the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a few lakes and stuff kicking around. That's God's got. So, say with that baseball scene, if you will, when that earth cracked, or else all the water came up, all the water came up, all that land went down, pushed stuff out, major mountains. I mean, all this going on with the rain, the sound. I can't even imagine the absolute true word of chaos going on right there.
Yes.
Did you imagine? Just like the people on the ground and in the ark. Just, I know that Noah was a believer. His whole family believed, but like, I doubt he doubted anything, but just like, could you imagine what was running through their heads?
Mm-hmm.
The noise and the sounds and
right.
This had to be absolutely just almost incomprehensible. I hope I said that right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just had to be unbelievable.
Yeah, because I could picture, or almost like if I put myself in his shoes, I'd be like, like, man, I knew this was gonna happen, but holy cats, God, like you really doing it up. You know what I mean? Like, you're not pulling any punches here. Like,
yeah, totally. Well, yeah, you want to make sure everybody was dead. So.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I think another point from the story is like, maybe it's where God's, he showed mercy, obviously, for these Noah and his family. It's like, all right, you guys are good. I'm gonna save you guys. And then just to build something that big, to have the faith in something you can't see, perhaps back then God was a little more tangible than he is now. And maybe he's still just tangible as he is now because we're so inundated with all these other things. I mean, look at the technology we have.
Right.
And all, we have a rule at our house: no phones at the table. But like, how many times you're halfway through dinner and your phone goes off, and it's like it takes all you can do not to want to go look at it. Like, so. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Brain dead. Help me out. What was I saying? Where's the rewind button?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, you go back on the stream and rewind it.
What is instant replay? Where's John Madden?
Right.
You got this guy over here, and he's talking, and then he's out over here, and this guy rushed to here, and then if he gets all the way to the end, that's a touchdown. Good job, John.
Right.
Anyways, look at this guy. He forgot what he's talking about. He's got to ask the guy up here. They don't know.
Oh, man.
Good grief. I'm blank. I'm blank.
Well,
We were talking about being inundated by things of the world, and so he was, he had such faith to build, and he wasn't distracted by anything. He built this boat, this astronomically huge boat for back then, to do something that literally no one's ever done before. And no one else cared. I'm like, I don't know, this is gonna sound super conceited or whatever, but like, it just blows my mind that like there wasn't one other person that's like, hey, maybe no one knows something we don't. Let's check it out.
right.
No, it was so wicked and evil back then. They're just like, that guy's crazy.
Yep.
Made fun of him, all kinds of stuff. So and then they're all dead. And then that, now you have your fossil record.
Yeah, right.
So there's too many zeros in that fossil record, by the way. I'm going to leave it at that.
Right. Yes.
Because we're not here to discuss fossils or whatever. We're here to discuss God and the story of the flood, Mount Ararat, which we're talking about. So the boat. All right, we'll kind of cut to the chase, but we want. It's just the sun just set. Let's turn the light on. So we want to talk about Noah's Ark comes to land on. Let's see, because I want to read this because this is kind of fun to read out loud because everybody takes this for granted. Okay, here we go, boys and girls. Chapter 8, verse 4 of Genesis. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains with an S of Ararat. It kills me now that I'm older and we really look into the Bible and the stories and stuff that I'm like, that doesn't even make, if you legitimately read this story, the Sunday school version you've heard your entire life is just that's made up. Yeah, you guys cut out the 7 animals, you cut out all the time they legitimately spent on the boat. And the timeline doesn't matter. I mean, granted, I know you're trying to make it relatable to kids, but it's I don't know. Maybe we're trying to, I don't know, not today's day and age, particularly with things kids can comprehend, if they really want to, I think why not tell them the full story? So, anyways, yeah, it did. There's no. How can I say this? There's no Mount Ararat. There is a Mount Ararat. It's constructed of two peaks, if you will, which are both dormant volcanoes, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm pretty sure I read several times today. So I have right here, got all kinds of Google pages I saved today. So lazy sometimes. Like, you don't have to write anything down. You're just like, I'm gonna bookmark that, and I'm gonna
Right.
highlight this section, this section, and I'm good to go. Yeah. And you wonder why kids can't sign their back of their check anymore.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
I gotta sign my name. Yeah. Don't you know how to sign your name?
In cursive? What?
They don't. You believe they don't teach that at school anymore?
Oh, no, yeah.
Like, you guys are screwed. Believe it or not, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, you still got to sign you still need to sign a piece of paper.
Right.
Yep. Anyways, I got it here. Just bear with me. Oh, here it is. The mountain has been called by the name Ararat in the West since the Middle Ages, as it began to be identified with the mountains with an S of Ararat, described in the Bible as the resting place of Noah's Ark. Despite contention that Genesis 8:4 does not refer specifically to Mount Ararat. Anyways, if you wonder where Mount Ararat is, they fought it out. It's in Armenia, which is next to Turkey. As far as I know, it's still in Armenia, unless the borders have changed. Oh, it says it's in Turkey now. I'll bet it's like right on the border, because that's what the geography map shows. So anyways, it's a cluster of mountains. There's a little Ararat and a greater Ararat. So the assumption is that Noah's Ark landed on top of greater Ararat, if you will, as it's known today, which is at 16,854 feet. But it just says in the mountains of Ararat. So it stands to reason, if you will. I don't want to take anything out of context from the Bible, but I would think if it said the mountain of Ararat, it would be up there. You know, it's probably somewhere obviously in that vicinity. I don't think it'd be up that high. I think if it was up there, it would say where it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it seems that there's like this underlying tone in the Bible, like all these great significant things that happen, like the flood, the first, up next to second only to creation, if you will, as we go through the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it gives you a location, if you will, but it doesn't give you a specific location. And as you go through the Bible, there seems to always be some discrepancy, or it happened here, or no, it happened 10 feet over here, or happened over there. And that's kind of the cool thing about God, is like all these amazing things happen. Some of them not so amazing. But I feel like it never gives you like the exact location, like pinpoint. Like if you use, GPS or Onyx map, be like, boom, right here, like this tree. I've had people like walk up on me, like, when you're sitting under this tree, I'm like, stop following me. So, anyways, you know who you are. I'm sure you're watching. Kidding. You're all right. So, but it's like, the places are real. They're still there today. But the greater thing of this is that, like, is there, you can go to the Ararat mountain range, if you will, or you can go over to Israel and that area and see certain things where they claim everything, this happened there,
Right.
No one knows exactly 100% sure. All those people are long gone. But the cool part is, like, a lot of things are mentioned about that, can be substantiated and, like, factual, like this, happened. But the overall thing is just like, God, if you can't see him, he's there, these places are there. You have to believe. It's called faith.
Right.
So I know I took the long way around, but you need to take the long way around. There's no shortcutting on that one.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. It's like Montana. There's only so many roads to get there. So,
Yep, absolutely correct.
I think, go ahead.
Well, and as you were talking about that, I can't help but think that, the reason that those places that can be substantiated, that's all post flood.
Right.
And so anything that, as far as my line of thought anyway, anything that is pre-flood or during the flood, that's all been so changed that it may not be the same, look the same that it did.
It wouldn't look the same at all. It's like
Right.
literally brand new ground.
Right.
You're like, holy buckets, what is this?
Mhm.
This is wild. I've never seen this before.
Right.
Like they're literally looking at things they've never ever seen before.
Yes.
Can you imagine how quiet it was though? Oh, it had to be fantastic.
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Getting into, especially from like Noah and his family's perspective, the world as it was, as far as the lay of the land and all of that kind of stuff. And then getting out of the boat and everything is just, like you said, brand new.
Brand new. I have to think too, from like just a hiker's perspective, like, so Mount Ararat, if you will, is pushing 17,000 feet almost.
Mm-hmm.
You land an ark full of people and animals up there who have never experienced, 17,000 feet. You get some serious issues, I would think.
Right.
So it would stand to reason that, sure, he landed somewhere in that complex, in that vicinity.
Right.
Much lower, I would have to get, or maybe I may be completely wrong, but
no, I totally get that, because
if you got like elephants or even a human, that's 17,000 feet. It's like, all right. So put it in perspective, 17,000 feet, base camp, one of the base camps at Everest. I mean, if you go above 17,000 feet, you have to move quickly, if you will, because your body literally starts to die once the minute you cross that barrier. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's super hard. If you cross 8,000 feet, you literally start having trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because like 12,000 feet is like I don't have a problem with it, like whatever.
Right.
But that's so like to have that much stuff that's never been up there that high to be just hunky dory with everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Maybe it did. God took care of them, but
Oh yeah.
I still think to have that much stuff up that high would be kind of like I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you factor in all the other changes that are happening. Assuming that the whole ring of water around the Earth thing is true.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is going to be totally different. The sky is going to look totally different,
Oh yeah.
and so I would have to assume that the pressure is going to be something that they've never felt before, regardless of where they were at.
Sure. It's a super cool story if you break it down and if you really legitimately think about it. Because there is it's not just like this happy little, oh, no one got on this boat with two of every animal and everything was all rainbows and sunshine after 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
No, there is an insane amount. Everything that happened in those 100 and some odd days, because it rained for 40 days, but he was on the boat for a super long time.
Mm-hmm.
So once that dove brought the olive branch back and they got a boat 2 days later, I mean, what we see is what he sees. Him and his clan were the only people to ever exist to get to see the pre-flood and then everything afterwards. Could you imagine? Because you're like, one, I don't know where the heck I am, and two, what the heck is that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, can you imagine that? That statement alone just makes I can't even fathom that statement.
No.
Yeah. I guess part of me is kind of tired of just just take these Bible stories for granted. I'm like, let's break it down. What happened? What are the underlying issues here? Well, what's going on? The flood is it's phenomenal. It's beyond unbelievable, and it happened.
Yes. Right.
And those people got to see it. That's crazy. They went from point A to point B and night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've never even thought of that. So just now, it's like, wow. I'm just kind of in awe at the moment. I'm like,
Yep. And I don't see how you can get anywhere else but awe when you're, especially a story like the flood.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, other stories in the Bible that, are that kind of awe-inspiring type of stories, but this one, I think, is probably one of the top ones. Especially if you're really starting to dig into it and really break it down and see what's actually going on and trying to put yourself in that spot.
Mm. That's incredible. There's no greater case for faith right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're coming out. I don't know what the time frame is exactly, but part of it, you go into your ark and you see one thing, and then just floodgates of heaven open up and the ground opens up and this stuff's moving and shaking and woo 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 and get crazy, and you come out and you're just like, oh.
Right, yeah.
So how could you not believe in a higher being? How could you not? How could you not believe in God?
Right.
That just does not happen randomly.
No.
It's just phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. He had the faith he had to begin with. He had, I'm going to use the term, pre-flood faith. So when he gets off the boat, his post-flood faith, how much greater was that versus the pre?
Right.
I mean, that he had to have like the greatest faith ever, possibly. He had the period. I'm not going to say positive. Period. Literally. Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
You can't top that faith. No. Just to go through all that and just be like, woohoo. Yeah, that is absolutely wild. Yeah. I don't even know what to say after that.
Right?
It's like the proverbial mic drop. Boop.
Yeah, that's pretty much what just happened there. Yeah.
But you know that, man, this is complicated. So here's a little more history on the quote unquote Mount Ararat that we know about today. It's from Wikipedia. So the mountain has been called by the name Ararat. Did I already read that? I did read that already. I did. My bad. I had some really cool. So the summit's covered in ice, obviously. Yes, whether or not anybody's found the ark. I mean, no one's ever going to find the ark. I don't believe.
I don't think so.
I mean, there's these stories, things happen. Everybody always wants something tangible. Like, all right, there's a few instances where, people claim they come back with a chunk of wood from the ark and stuff. And, I mean, I read an article a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was this week. It was about, they had, I think it was Mary Magdalene's skeleton or her head. I'm just like, I mean, how do you know that?
Right.
It's just like, it doesn't really matter.
Well, that's just it.
Doesn't matter.
That's where I'm at. Is like it really.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
The only way that you're going to find any of that kind of stuff, whether you're talking about the Ark or the Ark of the Covenant is one of the big ones too that people say that they have to find, all that kind of stuff. The only way you're going to find that is if God wants you to find it. And if God wants you to find it, when you find it, there's going to be absolutely no question whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is.
Especially with the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Dude, when that shows up, because it will show up, it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, party's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As much as I want to go, let's not find that for a while.
Yeah, that's a great segue into a whole nother topic that we don't have time for.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have like topics that you like want to talk about, shoot us a message.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know, because we're going to talk about mountains for quite a while because we like mountains.
Right.
So, but yeah,
I'll say this too: it doesn't matter how hot button it is either.
No, because I mean, we have the Bible to back it up. Like,
that's right.
I mean, that's where we get all information. Granted, I just read from Wikipedia, but I mean, it's a mountain. You just can't, you're not going to make up a lot of stuff about a mountain. It's right there. Go check it out. But I mean, we'll always start with the Bible to look in here. And if we go to another book, it'll be a derivative, if you will. Is that the right word? Of the Bible.
Yeah.
It'll be biblically based, you know, so we're not just a couple of chuckleheads on here with beards, so you might think we are, but we're not.
Yeah, we might act like it sometimes, but we're not.
Yeah. On the trail, baby.
Yeah, on the trail.
Ah!
Yes.
That gets a little chucklehead action, but gotta keep the spirits up.
Right. Yeah, especially this last time around.
Woo. Yeah. Speaking of which, I have my tent out today. I was gonna send you a picture. I'm like, look what I got out, man. So I got a elk hunt coming up next week. So, but it's not on top of Mount Ararat, I can tell you that. That's a cold place.
Right.
We should go there. We should climb that rascal.
Oh, how amazing would that be?
That would be pretty fantastic.
Maybe we could find the ark.
Ah!
Yeah.
Tell you what, I just bring a couple little nasty 2x4s with me, and
Yeah, there you
we'll
go.
just come back like, look what we found.
Yeah.
It says Home Depot
Yeah.
on the bottom.
Oh man.
I'm telling you, it's from there. These guys get cheap on wood. They're chunking up the ark. Gopher wood. I wonder what gopher wood goes for.
I don't know.
Probably can't even afford gopher wood. Barely afford a 2x4 right now.
Right.
I see a scrap wood pile. I'm like, hey, that's a good stick. Put that in my truck. I make something out of that. Anyways. Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, what a great way to kick off our mountain series with like the deepest, craziest mountain story there is.
Yeah.
Because it's just wild. Because, like, yeah, because every other mountain, like, if it wasn't for this story, I really believe there wouldn't be any other mountain stories. Because there wouldn't be any other mountains.
No. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
No, there wouldn't be any other mountains, and I mean, I've heard I've heard Noah called, the second Adam, which there's a reason for that. I mean, if God wouldn't have showed mercy on him, none of us would be here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And then you have Jesus come later on that perfected that.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, yeah.
Which, granted, that's not, they don't give you a specific mountain name or whatever, but,
We should do like an Old Testament mountain one week and then a New Testament mountain the following.
I
We
think
can jump
do
back
that.
and forth. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yup, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So which one are we doing next week? We got the Mount of Olives, because we got to do a New Testament, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, Mount of Olives, Mount Zion, Mount Tabor.
Mount Tabor. That's fun to say.
Yes.
Tabor. I don't know. Pick one. We'll figure it out. We'll write it down.
Let's do. Mount Olives.
Mount.
Yeah. That's
Makes
kind
me
of
think of
a
Olive Garden.
twofer, actually.
Twofer.
Yeah, because that's where Jesus prayed there before he was arrested,
Right.
and at least this that I'm looking at said that's where he ascended into heaven from there.
Gotcha. Well, maybe we can do a two-parter.
There you go.
There you go. That'll work. So takeaways. What are you taking away from the flood?
Oh man, takeaways. You want to talk about God caused growth and for somebody, that was it, you know?
That's funny you say that because I'm like, I still have it written down here on my pad. I was literally just looking at it. All right, here we go.
Yeah, you know, I think I think this is for me. This is like a gauge that you can gauge where your faith is at, or where my faith is at. You know, um, and I think that's probably my biggest thing from it is you hear the phrase "you have faith of a mustard seed." You know, is all you need to move mountains. I don't know what the specific reference is there, but the story of Noah is a great example of what that looks like, practically. Being called, being called by God to do something and just doing it.
Yeah.
Well, but they're gonna call me crazy, or they're gonna, this, that, or the other thing. There, wasn't really any of that. I mean, God said, build a boat, and he said, how big? You know what I mean? It's like, and then too, it's kind of a warning, like you talked about earlier, that pre-flood sounded a lot like what we got today. We'll never really know the full extent of what it really looked like pre-flood, but from what the Bible tells us, and it sounds very similar to stuff that's going on today. And he promised not to do it by flood again, but there's a whole lot of other ways he could do it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest things for me. What about you?
I like the once again you outdid yourself with coining another phrase. I like the faith gauge. So yeah, I mean, this is a great faith story. To have such faith to do things literally no human has ever done before, to build a boat, to just like you said, just build. God's like, build a boat. You're just like, how big? So I like that. So I mean, yeah, I mean, that's some insane faith. And then to have faith through that storm and to come out on the other side, and then to have faith in a dove who brings back a branch, there is a boatload of faith going on around here. So
absolutely.
It'll never be topped, but it gives you perspective, like you said, a gauge to be like, and it's almost ridiculous because I'm like, the word can't. If you're a believer, should never come out of your mouth. I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Have you heard of this guy named Noah?
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, I'm just as guilty as anybody saying, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, I mean, we really need to, as believers, check ourselves and find out what do you really believe? You
Yeah.
know? Are you in or are you out? Because there was no middle ground with Noah.
Nope. No.
Not that Noah had anything to do with it. Noah was just doing what he was told by God. So,
Right.
yeah, so it's the faith factor is just, it's almost ridiculous. It's off this, yeah, it's incredible. So it doesn't say he never complained, he never whined, he never lost faith, he never got scared. The man was made of steel.
And that's another interesting side of this story is where did that come from? Yeah, it wasn't any of Noah's doing that he had this amazing faith and fearlessness and whatever. All of that came straight from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Holy Spirit hadn't come yet.
Right.
So I think that was given directly to him by God. Again, and that plays into the whole God knows what the story is and God knows what's going on.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's got to be one of the wildest stories in the Bible, which is it's so watered down and taken for granted. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Because if you truly read it and explain it or preach it, it'll change your life. So, yep.
Which I have to say this: if anybody's watching this that has anything to do with children's ministry, those kids understand a lot more than what you think. So don't feel like you have to dumb something down so that they can understand it.
Yeah, please do not dumb down the Bible. Don't. If they can understand a cat in a hat, that's a train wreck of a book, too, by the way. They can understand the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No,
Never mind.
By all means.
No, we'll just leave it at that. So.
As you can probably tell, we could go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, this is why we do this at night, so we're not up on. Yeah, we go all day.
Right? Yeah. Like, oh man, I gotta go to bed. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man. Okay, so next week is Mount of Olives.
Yeah.
We will. If you like this, you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. All that social media type stuff. Share it, all that kind of stuff. Like Steven said earlier, if you have a specific thing that you would like to hear us discuss, shoot one of us a message, leave a comment under a video, whatever. There's email is up there.
Talk to me in the store if you want.
Yeah, yes. Walk out and say, hey, you guys need to discuss this. Be like, okay.
Which would be super cool. I thought today was super cool. Kind of made my day.
Right.
So I really I wanted to call you, but I'm like, he's probably busy or something. So I just thought it was super cool. So,
all right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed it. So until next week, always remember that we love you.
God loves you.
Peace out.
Peace.